As most people know, on September 11, 2001, the Twin Towers collapsed after being hit by two airplanes hijacked by terrorists from the Middle East. Most people also know about the alleged plane that hit the Pentagon and the fourth plane that crashed into a field after a supposed passenger mutiny. But what most people don't know is that another catastrophe occurred on September 11, 2001. This was the inexplicable collapse of World Trade Center Building 7.
We've got some news just coming in, actually, that the Salomon Brothers building in New York, right in the heart of Manhattan, has also collapsed.
At 5:20 p.m. on September 11, 2001, World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed at near free fall speed straight downwards. This was in spite of the fact that the building was not hit by any airplanes, bombs, or explosives of any kind. The official 9/11 report did little to clear up the confusion as to how such a collapse could have unfolded, as the report only mentions the building a handful of times and never discusses its demise. Photographic evidence from prior to the collapse indicated that fires burned on the 7th and 12th floors of the building caused by small debris from the Twin Towers. But the fires were neither large nor hot. To provide an explanation for the inexplicable, eventually it was suggested that World Trade Center Building 7 had collapsed due to diesel tanks in the bottom of the building catching fire. But this wouldn't explain such a fast collapse of the building. Even FEMA said that the diesel theory has, quote, only a low probability of occurrence, end quote. With no explanation from our leaders, maybe it is time to look elsewhere for the truth.
The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief.
To explain the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7, some have suggested the use of explosives. World Trade Center Building 7 exhibited many signs of a controlled demolition as it collapsed. These signs include the fact that World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed within its own footprint, it fell at near free fall speed, and the steel frame of the building provided no resistance to the collapse. With irrefutable evidence published within many books, videos, and online that this is the case, the question is no longer how, but who. Institutionalists have suggested that Osama bin Laden's terrorists rigged the building with explosives. A surprising claim considering no evidence has been produced to support this claim. Journalist Barry Zwicker, who has spent much time researching 9/11, proposed a different theory.
A conspiracy perpetrated allegedly by Osama bin Laden. But what if the conspiracy were hatched not in a cave in Afghanistan, but in Washington, D.C., at the highest levels of the U.S. government?
Barry Zwicker's conclusion: World Trade Center Building 7 was brought down by a controlled demolition, not construed by foreign terrorists, but by people within the American government. While this may shock some to hear, those familiar with false flag operations are hardly surprised. A false flag operation is an attack upon one's own country orchestrated as to convince the population the attack was done by someone else. Is it possible that the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7 indicates the United States government attacked its own country in order to achieve political goals? This all was predicted just a year prior by the Project for a New American Century, which suggested America needed, quote, a new Pearl Harbor, end quote, in order to mobilize the public support for foreign wars. This need was filled by 9/11 and the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7. This suggests that individuals within the United States government played a role in 9/11, in the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7, in order to advance their political ambitions and build the American empire. And there is still more to consider. How come a foreign terrorist wouldn't have gone after a more prized or symbolic American possession, such as the White House or the Capitol? Could it be that politicians who were complicit in 9/11 didn't want to put themselves in harm's way? The inexplicable collapse of World Trade Center Building 7 may just be the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what really happened on September 11th, 2001. Did George W. Bush orchestrate the 9/11 attacks as a false flag operation? Was Osama bin Laden no more than a patsy for the West? Who benefited from the attacks? To anyone who has been following closely, the answers to these questions and many more are crystal clear.